On paper, Rhea Ripley's reign as Women's World Champion was nothing short of legendary, 380 days. It was a reign that started with her making history, winning the Royal Rumble from the #1 spot, and it didn't end with a crushing defeat, but with the unfortunate reality of a real-life injury. Statistically, she's an icon. Her name is now etched in the record books, tied with one of the most important champions of the modern era. But does a single legendary run automatically make you the undisputed queen? Does 1 year of absolute dominance outshine the career-long success of a record-breaking champion? Or what about the historical weight of a reign that carried the entire company through its most uncertain time? Rhea Ripley's 380-day reign is in the history books, tied for the longest ever. But today, we're putting it to the test. We're going to figure out if Mommy is truly on top of the mountain, or if she's still standing in the shadows of icons like Charlotte Flair and Bayley. This is a battle of pure dominance, career legacy, and crucial context. Let's get into it. To really get why Rhea Ripley has a claim to the throne, you can't just look at that 380-day statistic. You have to look at how she reigned. This wasn't just a champion holding a title. Rhea Ripley was the final boss of the entire Raw Women's division. As the powerhouse of the Judgment Day, she had this aura of untouchable dominance that very few champions, man or woman, have ever managed to pull off. Her road to the title was a monster achievement all on its own. She became the first woman to win the Royal Rumble after entering at #1. Surviving 29 other wrestlers in a marathon of pure grit and power. She then took down Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 39 in a match that everyone called an instant classic, a real passing of the torch moment. From there, her reign was all about one thing: control. Rhea wasn't just winning matches, she was making examples out of people. Her title defenses against competitors like Zelina Vega, Natalya, Raquel Rodriguez, and Nia Jax weren't just wins. They were brutal displays of power that hammered home her status as Mommy. She was the anchor of a main event faction, and honestly, a lot of the time she felt bigger than the championship itself. The title didn't make Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley made the title feel important again. And then, there's how it ended. Her reign didn't close with a 3 count or a tap-out. It was cut short by a legitimate injury, forcing her to give up the title. This adds a huge what-if to her legacy. She was never actually beaten. Her time on top was ended by a stroke of bad luck, which only preserves the mystique of her power. For 380 days, Rhea Ripley wasn't just a champion. She was a force of nature whose run was defined by pure, unfiltered dominance. But before you can crown a new queen, you have to compare her to the woman who literally defined a championship legacy in this era: Charlotte Flair. If Rhea's argument is built on the sheer quality of one historic reign, Charlotte's is built on the mind-boggling quantity and consistency of her success. Charlotte Flair is a record 7-time Women's World Champion. In total, across all main roster titles, she's a 14-time Women's World Champion. This isn't someone who just had a great year. This is someone who has been at the very top, or one match away from it, for the better part of a decade. She is the benchmark. The name Charlotte Flair is basically synonymous with championship gold. So the real argument here is, what's more impressive, sustained greatness or a single flash of brilliance? While Rhea's 380-day reign is incredible, Charlotte has made a whole career out of collecting titles. She was the first ever Raw Women's Champion, the last ever Divas Champion, and she has main evented Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, and even WrestleMania. She's been a pillar of the women's evolution, a constant in the title scene who has faced every big name you can think of. However, the big knock against Charlotte has always been the nature of her many reigns. Some of them have been incredibly short, lasting just a few days or, in one infamous case, less than 5 minutes. This has led some fans to argue that her title shots were handed to her to pad her stats, rather than to build a compelling story. So what's better? Holding the title 7 times, or holding it once for longer than most of those 7 reigns combined? That's the core question. Charlotte's legacy is one of unmatched achievement. She is the opportunity. Does being the measuring stick for a whole generation give you a stronger claim than the person who showed up and dominated for one perfect year? Rhea had a reign. Charlotte is a dynasty. And then there's the other name in the record books, the woman who shares that 380-day milestone with Rhea, Bayley. Comparing their reigns is like comparing two totally different ways of being a champion. If Rhea's reign was all about being a monster, Bayley's was about storytelling, character, and carrying the entire company on her back during its most difficult period. Bayley's second run as SmackDown Women's Champion happened almost entirely during the pandemic and the Thunderdome era. With no live crowds, it was on the performers to create drama all by themselves, and nobody did it better than Bayley. This wasn't just a title reign, it was a total character reinvention. She ditched the hugger and became the role model, a smug, annoying heel who, along with Sasha Banks, was the undeniable MVP of WWE programming. She didn't have Rhea's final boss vibe. Instead, she was a workhorse champion, a cunning villain who would do anything to escape with her title. Her reign wasn't just about holding a belt. It was about evolving a character, cutting amazing promos to empty arenas, and making a championship feel like the most important thing in the world when the real world felt completely upside down. She didn't just have great matches, she carried entire shows. The comparison to Rhea is fascinating. Both held the title for the same official length, but their impact was completely different. Rhea's reign was a force of nature inside the WWE bubble. Bayley's reign was a foundational pillar that helped WWE get through a global crisis. So what's more valuable? A reign of untouchable physical dominance in front of packed stadiums, or a reign of character-driven mastery that kept the whole ship afloat during a storm? We've looked at Rhea's unstoppable dominance, Charlotte's dynastic legacy, and Bayley's history-making, company-saving run. 3 legendary reigns, 3 very different arguments for who is the true queen of this era. But before I give my final take, I want to hear from you. Based on what we've talked about, who gets your vote? Let me know in the comments below. So, how do we actually settle this? If we're talking about the longest single reign, Rhea and Bayley are tied at the top of the mountain. Charlotte, for all her titles, has never had one single reign that gets close to that 380-day mark. When it comes to pure, terrifying dominance, that final boss factor, the conversation has to start and end with Rhea Ripley. She was built up as an unstoppable monster who just tore through the division. While Bayley was a clever champion and Charlotte is always a force to be reckoned with, neither of them had a reign built around the kind of physical invincibility that defined Rhea's run. But then you have to talk about historical impact, and that's where things get tricky. You can't deny Charlotte's impact. She has the record for the most reigns and has been a cornerstone of the division for years, breaking barriers along the way. But Bayley's impact during her long reign is completely unique. She didn't just hold a title. She carried a brand through the empty arena era, a challenge no other champion on this list ever had to face. Her reign wasn't just about wrestling, it was about leadership when it was needed most. Charlotte's legacy is one of accumulation. She's like the New York Yankees of the women's division. You just can't tell the story of the championship without her, even if some of her wins feel more like padding stats than telling an epic story. Bayley's legacy is one of resilience and reinvention, proving her value under the absolute toughest circumstances. So is Rhea Ripley the undisputed queen? Her reign was a statement. It created a new kind of dominance, one built on a mystique that made her feel like a true main eventer, title or no title. It was, in a vacuum, a perfect showcase of what a modern monster champion can be. But here's the thing, wrestling doesn't exist in a vacuum. While Rhea's reign was dominant, it was one incredible chapter. Charlotte Flair basically wrote the book on being a women's champion in WWE, creating a dynasty that, for now, is unmatched. And Bayley's pandemic-era reign accomplished something maybe even more difficult. It defined an entire uncertain era, proving that great character work can be just as powerful as pure dominance. Rhea Ripley isn't standing in anyone's shadow. Her 380-day reign cemented her as a legend. But to be the undisputed queen, you need more than one legendary chapter. Charlotte Flair's body of work still sets the standard for championship success, and Bayley's long reign has a unique historical significance that can never be replicated. Mommy's era was legendary, but the debate for the top spot is far from over. What do you think? Did I get it right? Is there another champion who belongs in this conversation? Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you want more deep dives into the biggest topics in wrestling, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching.